Tropical outbreaks are becoming not unusual in temperate areas, especially in the Mediterranean area of Europe. Actually, the first major outbreak occurred about 11 years ago. It was the end of August when I received a call from a place in northeastern Italy, where they asked us to intervene because they had more than 50 cases of a strange disease. So I decided to go there. It was still hot and humid, so the climate was like the climate of a part-time tropical country. And I visited some patients, and then we visited also the epicenter of the outbreak. And we found a lot of Asian tiger mosquitoes. This was in the northeast of Italy, so it was not unexpected because the tiger mosquito established in Italy many years ago, at the beginning of the 1990s, but having a strange outbreak of an unknown disease was not usual. So I visited some patients. We found the tiger mosquito. The first case was an Indian guy coming from Kerala. So I hypothesized that it could be a tropical disease. And actually, the first diagnosis was suspected chikungunya. The alternative diagnosis was dengue. We examined some samples and we found positivities for chikungunya. So we realized that for the first time in Europe, we had an emergency due to chikungunya, a tropical virus. And 10 years later, again in Italy, in a place not far away from Rome, we had another major outbreak of chikungunya with a secondary outbreak in the south of Italy. So this means that in the era of globalization, when men and microbes go around the world, and they may reach every part of the world in just few hours, you may have tropical diseases occurring in temperate areas if the vector is there. And we had the vector, we have globalization, so microbes may move around and causing outbreaks of tropical diseases. Then in Europe we had also other outbreaks. For example, an outbreak of dengue in Croatia on the Dalmatian coast, and clusters of dengue and chikungunya in the south of France, in Spain, and in the island of Madeira, that is Portuguese. So this means that every year we face tropical clusters or cases or tropical outbreaks, sometimes major outbreaks, and we had to do something to contrast these emergencies. This is not still well defined, because actually we are talking of tropical diseases occurring during the summertime in places that have already hot and humid summer, what I call part-time tropical countries. Then usually the winter arrives and mosquitoes go to rest, the activity of mosquitoes goes down, and the outbreak usually stops. The point is that the higher the temperature and the higher the humidity, the higher the risk of having these kinds of outbreak, if the vector is there, if the microbe is there. And climate is changing, and the summer is becoming warmer and also more humid. And this may contribute to mosquito density that is increasing. The other point is, if summertime, if the hot season becomes longer and longer, then the number of cases can accumulate and you may have major outbreaks. We don't know whether summers may become so long that an endemic cycle of transmission may establish. Up to now, this is not possible because anyway, when the autumn arrives, when the winter arrives, actually the activity of the mosquitoes goes down. But there are not only vector-borne diseases that have been identified in the south of Europe. For example, we had also a cluster of cases of schistosomiasis that is typically a tropical parasitosis in Corsica, in a French island. So we are dealing with different kinds of tropical viruses or parasites, and we have to intervene earlier in order to contrast. Actually, one of the major problems we had when we faced these outbreaks was that early diagnosis was not done because it's unexpected to have cases of dengue or chikungunya or schistosomiasis or even a local transmission of Plasmodium vivax malaria, as it happened also in Greece. So when you have these kinds of disease, usually, if you go to the general practitioner, he doesn't think that it may be a tropical disease. And so the outbreaks goes on and the number of cases increases. And that's the major problem. What we had to do is to train doctors in order to get earlier diagnosis as soon as the first cases occur, in order to implement an intervention that may be, for example, mosquito control intervention or whatever other intervention should be done.